almost at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. So this means the lawbreakers. So lawbreakers cannot enter the kingdom. That's what it means. So in these New Testament times, there is law we have to keep in order to enter the kingdom. So in the Old Testament times, there were laws given to Moses, but in the New Testament times, Jesus came to perfect that old law into this new law. So what I like to tell you is that in this New Testament times, there are laws that we have to keep in order to enter His kingdom. So that at the end, when we see God, He won't say, I never knew you, depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. So we won't hear that from God. So we have to know this law to be able to keep it. So it says here, Matthew chapter 5, verse 17. Do not think that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For assuredly I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or one tittle will by no means pass from the law till all is fulfilled. So actually, when Jesus came, He proclaimed that He perfected the old law, and He gave this new law for the Christians to keep in the New Testament times. So what Jesus taught in this Sermon on the Mount is the law for the New Testament time. So we have to keep. So we have to know these laws in order to be saved. So it says, whoever therefore breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches men so shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does and teaches them, he shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So what it means is that there are certain laws that even if you don't keep them, you will still be saved. For instance, in the New Testament times, like almost all Christians keep the Sunday worship, not Sabbath. So they break the Sabbath, but I don't believe that all the Christians in the New Testament times went to hell. I believe that some Christians, although they broke the Sabbath, they still enter the kingdom. So there are laws like that. So this verse is talking about that. Verse 20, for I say to you that unless your righteousness exceeds the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. So what it says is, in the Old Testament times, all the laws actually describes about what you have to do with your actions. So what this verse 20 means is, your righteousness must exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees. So what it means is that Jesus rebuked Pharisees that their outwardly righteousness was clean and white, but inwardly it was full of corruption, like a tomb. So outwardly Pharisees looked like they were righteous, but inwardly they were full of evil in their heart. So Jesus is saying, your righteousness must be better than them. So what it means is, not only in your actions or your words, your heart has to be clean. So that's what it means. And Jesus will elaborate on that in the coming verses. So verse 21, you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be in danger of the judgment. But I say to you that whoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whoever says to his brother, Raka, shall be in danger of the council. But whoever says, you fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. So in this way, Jesus perfected the old law that was given to Moses. So not only with your actions, but with your words, if you hurt other people, then if you're that kind of person, you will be in danger of hellfire. So these days, Christians are very loose in their actions because they don't believe that you have to keep this law laid out in this Sermon on the Mount. So even in the churches, I saw one Christian saying to another Christian, "You fool, are you dumb?" Things like that. So they act like that because they don't believe that that will get them into hell. But Jesus is clearly saying here, "But whoever says you fool shall be in danger of hellfire." So we have to know these laws laid out in this Sermon on the Mount. And then we have to be really careful with what we say or do to hurt other people. And these days, so many Christians, even in the churches, they hurt other people with their words and they mock other Christians. And Jesus is warning about that here. So many Christians will be very shocked in front of the judgment seat in the end. And Jesus will say to them, "Depart from me, you lawbreakers," because they acted this way in their lives. Verse 23, "Therefore, if you bring your gift to the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go your way. First be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift." So God wants all of us to respect each other and not offend other people. So to be reconciled to God, we have to be a kind of person that doesn't offend other people. And by mistake, if you offend other people, then they have something against you, then you have to make it right with them in order to be in peace with God. And it says here, "Agree with your adversary quickly while you're on the way with him, lest your adversary deliver you to the judge. The judge hand you over to the officer, and you be thrown into prison. Assuredly, I say to you, you will by no means get out of there till you have paid the last penny." So whatever offense you do to other people, then at the end, all those people who have something against you, they will plead with God. So you have to be a kind of person who doesn't offend other people with your actions or words. And verse 26 is talking about debt. So if you owe somebody, then you are in danger of going to hell unless you pay back. So what he's saying is, if you owe somebody, then you are in the fate of going to the prison, which means the pit, which is hell, until judgment. So he's talking about that. So it says here, "Assuredly, I say to you, you will by no means get out of there till you have paid the last penny." So if you want to get out of that fate of going to hell, then you have to pay back what you owe. That's what it means here. Verse 27, "You have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart." So in the Old Testament times, it said, do not commit adultery. But in the New Testament times, Jesus perfected that law. So not only with your actions, you have to not commit adultery with your eyes. So if you're kind of person who likes to look at other people and enjoy and develop all kinds of fantasy, then you are committing sin. So some Christians might feel that, oh, this is too hard. Then there will be nobody who doesn't sin. But what it means is even the righteous, born-again person sometimes can look at a woman. But there's a clear difference between just looking at a woman as opposed to looking at a woman with a lust. So if somebody likes to look around with adulterous eyes to enjoy looking at other women with a desire in his heart, then he is committing sin. That's what he's talking about here. So there's a clear difference. So if somebody is that kind of person who keeps committing sin with their eyes and with their heart, then he is a lawbreaker. So that's what he's saying here. So verse 29, if your right eye causes you to sin, plug it out and cast it from you, for it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell. So even if you have to plug out your eyes, you must stop sinning. That's what it means. So as a born-again Christian, we have to really fight with the sin. Try not to sin with our eyes or with our heart or with our actions. And verse 31, furthermore, it has been said, whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that whoever divorces his wife for any reason except sexual immorality causes her to commit adultery. And whoever marries a woman who is divorced commits adultery. So Jesus is giving us an elevated law in these New Testament times. And it says, if you divorce and marries another woman, then you are committing adultery. But this is like a very big topic that needs a lot of explanation. And I'd like to go over in another video. But Jesus is saying, just like committing adultery outside of your marriage, if you keep divorcing, like these days people even divorce multiple times, then it's same thing as committing adultery. So you marry a woman and divorce, then marry another woman, and then divorce and marry another woman, then it's same thing as committing adultery with multiple women. So Jesus wants us to keep our marriage and keep our holiness inside of that marriage. And verse 33, again you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oath to the Lord. But I say to you, do not swear at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. So these days, not many people give oath. In the old days, they like to give oath by something. It's because lying is very prevalent in our society. So what he's saying is, but let your yes be yes and your no, no. For whatever is more than these is from the evil one. So what he's saying is, you have to become a trustworthy person so that if you say yes, then other people will believe you. So you have to be that kind of trustworthy person who doesn't lie, but who speaks the truth. So it's warning about lying here. So in the Bible, we see a lot of warning about lying. So the liars cannot inherit the kingdom. But all these laws, what you have to remember is that even the born-again Christians, there is no person who will not even sin once from the time of being born again until death. There's no person perfect like that, like God. But what God wants us to do is, you have to be the kind of person who doesn't continuously sin. So although by mistake you can lie once in a while, but you have to be the kind of person you always tell the truth and not lie. And if you make a mistake and lie in a blink of an eye, then you have to ask forgiveness from God. And after that, even like with your own life, you don't lie and you speak the truth. And that's your way of living, to not lie and tell the truth. That's the kind of person who enters the kingdom of heaven. So the liars, like Christians, think that not lying is impossible. So it's ingrained in their everyday life to like lie very lightly. But that kind of person cannot enter the kingdom. So you have to be the kind of person who speaks the truth to enter the kingdom. So Jesus keeps talking about other laws in the following verses in this Sermon on the Mount. And I will continue with verse 38 in the next video. I wish you blessings from the Lord.